We'd like to think we know everything. It would be so cute if the government was giving us the up and up with everything that's going on, but deep down inside we know that there's no way the people in power are really giving us the full story. If we could actually see all the truths, every last detail that's going on behind the scenes, what would we learn? Hello again, Most Amazing Top 10 family. I'm your host, Jay Dorena, and welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. Today we are going to open the secret files they don't want you to see with our list of top 10 dark truths the government doesn't want you to know. As always, I would love it if you guys could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell and stick around for the whole list because I'm going to be answering some questions from my Instagram inbox. If you want me to answer your question, you can hit me up through the gram. Without taking any longer, let's get into this list. Coming in at number 10, we have what are they doing with your data? Data is now the most valuable thing on the planet. Companies have breakdowns on every individual. How long people look at their phones, what makes people engage more with apps, what silly game will grab their attention more than something important like working or taking care of their body. Now, most of this information is collected by massive companies like Google, Amazon, Apple, and Facebook. This is why all of these companies are trying to get you to be part of their ecosystem, because the more time you spend in their ecosystem, the more information they can get off you and the more profitable their data is. Now, we know that Facebook has been selling this data, and we know that the NSA is looking at your emails. So there's a good chance that all of these companies are in bed together so they can find out the perfect way to conduct society. I don't know how I feel about this, and I'm sure if I started investigating this, I would turn up dead faster than Jeffrey. Coming into number 9, we have Are Aliens Real? The CIA just released footage of a UFO. It was ignored pretty hard because the world was on fire when this information was released. Actually, a lot of people speculate that the footage of that UFO was released as a way to distract the public from the fact that America was plunging into chaos. You know, things are really messed up when people brush off the government confirming that UFOs are real. But do we think the footage that they showed us of something floating around in space for the first time was all the information that they have? Yeah, right, baby. They have way more information than that. But it seems that the only time they're going to tell us more information about aliens is when people are about to tear down the world. So maybe we should start a revolution and then they'll let us shake hands with ET. It seems like a pretty fair trade-off. Coming in at number 8, we have hormones in your food. It's no secret that the government has been messing around with your food. Monsanto and the big wigs running the country are constantly shaking hands. There's high fructose corn syrup in everything. The national food guides are a joke. There's very little regulation on what you're allowed to put in food, depending on what country you're in. Sugar isn't considered a drug even though it's hyper addictive. GMO food doesn't even need to be labeled in certain countries, and there are subsidies given to certain food industries that make a lot of money for government officials. In the documentary Eating Our Way to Extinction, we saw some of the horrors that go into the meat industry, and that is something that the government would never want you to know because people stop buying meat, and then the lobbyists of meat industries can't put cash into the pockets of politicians to keep pushing regulations to protect their industry, even though that what they're doing is bad for the planet. Coming in at number 7, we have mind control devices. Ever since MK Ultra, it has been common knowledge that the government has been trying to find a way to take control of people. I mean, many of you have heard of the Manchurian Candidate. It would be perfect to have a puppet that you can control to do your bidding. What if this puppet was a high-ranking official or special ops officer who could kill a man 100 different ways before he ever got tired? If there are any breakthroughs in mind control, you better believe that they are going to stay secret because that would scare the hell out of everyone. If we knew that the government had mind control devices, there would be chaos in the streets because you wouldn't know who you could trust and who was an agent being manipulated by the shadow government. Coming in at number 6, we have chemtrails. Here's one that you don't hear about anymore. Personally, I have never been a believer of chemtrails, and I still don't believe that they were true. It's way too difficult to predict wind patterns and weather to be able to create clouds of death and know where they're going to go. And if they created death clouds, won't they also harm the people who are paying for these clouds to be created? And most of the people who claim that chemtrails are real don't look like they're taking care of their bodies, so I find it hard to believe that they really care about their health. I put this on this list because apparently chemtrails are just some false flag disinformation that was thrown out to distract people from real issues that are right in front of you, like sweatshops and polluting the ocean. So I guess the title of this one should actually be disinformation. Coming in at number 5, we have who's pulling the strings. Alright guys, it's time to put on your tinfoil hats because every time I talk about the government, I gotta bring in the Illuminati. We know that we are being lied to on some level, but the question is, how deep does it go? Could it be that the president is indeed the president, that he actually calls most of the shots, that the Senate and Parliament are front-facing and not doing anything shady, that the Supreme Court doesn't have any sort of underlying intentions? Yeah, right, we know that all politicians are two-faced, money-hungry, greedy, thieving creatures that are void of empathy, so who is really working everything behind the scenes? I would love to see the actual hierarchy of these powers. They want us to eat up their lives faster than Joey Chestnut eats up an all-beef ballpark dog.
Chestnut 53, Kobayashi now goes to 52.
Coming at number 4, we have new weapons of mass destruction. Last time there was a weapon that changed the world, it was the atomic bomb, and that was back in the 1940s. Of course, we see upgrades in military all the time, but there's no way that we've seen the new atomic bomb, and there is for sure something out there that would make the atomic bomb look like a fly swatter. It's been nearly 80 years, and the tech has only gotten better. They probably have a satellite that can control the weather and make it rain lightning for 40 days and 40 nights. If Project HARP is a real thing, the government can control earthquakes, which means they could send a tidal wave or volcano anywhere they want. And what's going on with those microwave lasers? Apparently there's tech that can melt your insides in seconds like you're being cooked from the inside. That sounds like a very bad time. Coming in at number 3, we have how serious is Corona? The COVID-19 numbers from most countries are out in the open, so we can see how bad the situation is globally and what countries are taking this seriously. But not everyone is being upfront with how they're dealing with this. Some countries would like to keep denying that it exists, and they don't want to acknowledge that this is a global pandemic that has already killed over 1 million people, so it's not just a simple flu. We have no idea what the numbers are in Russia. I don't know if this was propaganda against Russia or if this is true, but apparently when COVID first started, some Russian scientists came out to say that the virus was spreading through all of Russia, and then they mysteriously fell out of windows. That's very scary. Coming in at number 2, we have where the money goes. It seems that politicians are making tons of money. The fact that campaigns are being funded by outside sources should be a major conflict of interest, because if Coca-Cola is funding your campaign, you're going to push forward legislation that protects and aids their company because you want to keep getting money from them, and these companies aren't going to give you money to become an elected official if you go against them. I mean, it's a pretty simple equation, and I think it's safe to say that some of the money going into campaigns is going to work its way into the pockets of politicians. Politicians lie all the time. They get information on insider trading, and we should probably be allowed to look at what their finances are because they can't be trusted. And coming into the number 1 spot, we have how much is COVID-19 affecting Trump? I mean, the dude said he caught it. You're supposed to be in quarantine for 2 weeks, and the worst of it is supposed to come when you're over a week into your symptoms. But this dude was riding out in a car just 1.5 days after he was in the hospital. I mean, he's the president, so no one can force him to stay there, but the dude did not look good. All the press says he's been struggling to breathe, and in that video where he's standing on the balcony, he looked rough. You can clearly see him struggling to breathe. Like, dude, just stay in the hospital for as long as you need. No one will care if you do the proper quarantine time, and no one will believe you that you feel better after catching corona than you did before you caught the virus. I think most people think that leaving the hospital when you're deep into a battle with the biggest pandemic we've seen in this century is a very bad idea, but I doubt we'll get the official statement on his actual vitals. Alright guys, that has been our list. Now I'm going to answer some questions. Goddess of Thy Mischief wrote in and asked, who is your favorite Marvel villain / anti-hero? This is a great question. I've always loved Dr. Doom. For one, his look is amazing. It's simplistic yet defining, and for someone who is mortal, he's been able to do some of the most badass things in the Marvel universe. Like, he stole the Beyonders' powers once. I think he stole Odin's powers once, and he's one of the most intelligent people in the entire Marvel universe. I haven't read many comics that involve him, I've just heard hearsay, but this question might inspire me to download some more Dr. Doom arcs. Our next question comes from Maya101912, who wrote in and asked, what do you like about your job? Well, this is a creative job. You get to explore your writing and hosting skills, and you get to learn about a lot of obscure things that you probably would never read about in your day-to-day life. Like, some top 10 hosts would be able to crush it at trivia. And our last question comes in from Brother Kevlar, who wrote in and asked, what's your favorite game / band / TV show slash movie. This is so hard. I think for band I would go with the Black Keys. Music is the genre of entertainment I know the least about, so that's the easiest one for me to answer. For TV show, I think I would go with Rick and Morty or My Hero Academia. That's a hard one for me to pick. If I'm gonna pick a movie, I think I would pick The Big Lebowski, but there's so many other great movies out there. And for game, this is the toughest one. I think I would pick Overwatch because I think I've put the most time into that game, and every time I come back, I fall in love with it again. Alright guys, that has been our list. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, I would love it if you could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. Until next time, I've been your host, Jay Dorena, and watch out for the government. They're always up to something shiesty.